this is Isa Nakazawa, your host for Transmission Studio, a show featuring the independent artists and community-based organizations that make San Francisco's arts and culture scene what it is today. And today I'm super excited to be joined by Arlin Golden, who's the director and programmer of Drunken Film Festival, who has its 7th annual film festival coming to Oakland and San Francisco this year. So we're really excited to talk more about it and have you guys check it out really soon. Arlin, welcome to Transmission Studio. Thanks for coming and talking to me.
Isa, thanks so much for having me and the invite. This was such a joy to be here.
Yes, and it's really amazing because you actually work in the same building, which is really exciting for us to highlight the people we work with. And can you tell me, just introduce yourself and talk maybe a little bit about Video Project too, and then also your role and relationship to the Drunken Film Festival?
Of course. So I've been a Video Project upstairs for 10 years. Oh. We're a documentary distributor, primarily to universities and libraries, and we also do community screenings of all kinds of docs. I think one of our recent films had some BAVAC support. Home is a Hotel. Oh, yeah. So we have that one and a bunch of others. But it's all very social issue driven, mission driven, oriented, which is great and needed. But it's kind of a part of my personality that is not there's a part of my personality that's not served by that work that Drunken Film Fest kind of lets me play around.
Oh, break that down.
And just it's just those are all just serious docs trying to make a difference in the world, yeah. Which, are great. These are all very silly films. I mean, not all of them very silly, but I mean, the fest in general, I think is silly. It's playful. It's fun. It's low stakes. It's free. It just kind of gives me an outlet to do whatever I want to do with film in a way that I'm a bit more just have my hands tied in my 9-to-5
Absolutely.
world,
Oh, I love that. And for folks who are listening who don't know anything about Drunken Film Festival, how would you describe it? You're getting into the playfulness, but where is it? What's kind of the heartbeat behind it?
Such a good question. So I guess just quick history. Drunken Film Fest actually started in the UK. In Bradford, West Yorkshire, by a friend, Jax Griffin, and they had a fest in Bradford, an international film fest that just went away, and they were like, we should still have a film fest, So they just had the idea. They didn't have a ton of theaters. They only had one in town, and it worked with this film fest, and they were done. So they went to different bars and were like, will you let us put up a screen and play some movies? And the bars were like, okay, sure, whatever.
That's an amazing answer.
And they and I at the time were writing for the same website, and they knew I have a background in documentary, so they asked me to program just the docs for that fest. And then the second year of the Bradford Fest, they flew me out to help, and I was just like, I should just do this in Oakland. We have the scene, we have the bars, I think it'll go well. And Jax gave me their blessing. And so the third year of Drunken Film Fest Bradford was the first year of Drunken Film Fest Oakland. That was 2018. And the concept is just, it's a different bar every night, different movies every night, and it's all free. So you just go there, you show up, you watch some stuff you would probably never seen otherwise. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing because there are people there who are just at the bar, and then all of a sudden they see me setting up a screen, and they're like, what's going on here tonight? I'm like, oh, it's a film fest, you're at it,
Part of it.
We're gonna start in 10 minutes, why don't you stick around? And then they stay the whole time. They come the next day, they come the next year,
Wow.
So it's our 7th year now, and through that kind of just organic people getting turned on to it. We have a really loyal and loving fan base of people who come out to like every screening, and it's just super fun.
Yeah, I was just telling you I've never been, but I can confirm you have like a strong cult following. I'm curious about the Drunken Film Festival. Is it because it's not so like precious? What's the actual viewing culture? Because I imagine if it's at a bar, maybe it is less precious. Maybe there is more spontaneity. Like, what have you noticed about how viewing movies and films in bars, like how is that a unique experience?
That's a very reasonable question. It's like, I think what we got in our first couple years from filmmakers is like, when no one knew who we were, is like, it's going to be like at a sports bar and everyone's going to be talking and it'll just be like up on a TV or something. And I'm like, well, no, not really. But like, I think it's what you're saying. There's definitely like a more casual and engaging like audience viewership to it, but like it's the kind of thing where people are there because they want to watch the movies, and if they don't and they're like there just to talk or whatever, like good luck, because our speakers are really loud.
Okay, so there's
intention. You're not going to be able to do that. Like, so people, like, at the beginning, you will see some people filter out who didn't know we were going to be there because they're like, well, we can't sit and have a conversation because there's all these movies going on.
Amazing. So talk to me about your kind of commitment and interest in particularly in shorts and in doc. Sure. Like what compels you about that form? For me, I always wonder, like, what creativity is made possible or enabled through having a limitation, like the time. So I'm just curious what excites you about shorts?
Shorts, I mean, I think, well, going like way back, there was this festival called Spike and Mike's Sick and Twisted Festival of Animation. It was like in the 90s. And that was all shorts, and it was just all these different cartoons, independent animators like Bill Plimpton and Don Hertzfeldt and stuff, and they would release these VHSs, and I would like rent those from the video store, and it was just such a at the time like an eye-opening experience, because it was all this stuff you never saw. It like was very clearly done by a single like vision. It was like one artist, which really spoke to me, as opposed to like, narrative filmmaking largely is just such a, massive endeavor and takes so many people. And that's something that really speaks to me about like documentary too. Like you could be like an amazing artist like Ramel Ross and make Hale County this morning, this evening with nothing more than like, your DSLR and a shotgun mic on top of it, and you're nominated for an Oscar, but like with Spike and Mike, it's just like, yeah, it was all animated, but the themes and the styles and everything is just like so different from one to another, and it was just so invigorating to like kind of move through all these different styles and stories. So I think that stuck with me, and I think the Drunken Film Fest programming is like so, I really try and keep it varied and eclectic. Like I don't have like two docs next to each other. If something's a little heavy, like I'll try and like sandwich it between things that are maybe a little lighter, So we're always kind of like moving throughout the world in terms of where these films are made, in terms of like just what they're making you feel, in terms of like, whether it's a doc or an animated or something experimental or narrative, so I think that just keeps things really exciting, and because you never know what's coming next.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like that is the skill of curation, right? Like you're telling a broader story and kind of guiding the audience through a journey that they don't know. And so it's cool to think about pacing and mood and
for sure, yeah, theme. There are some things, that just have to go at the end, because like you're not going to be able to top it, kind of. And there are some things too that like you don't want to put too early, because like, yeah, like you don't want to bump someone out, and then just kind of leave them bummed. Like I always want to pick them back up.
Oh, that's awful.
So like, yeah, the idea is to kind of just keep it keep it lively, keep it varied, and keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to pick up on a thread that you spoke about earlier around like this kind of conversation between like impact oriented work and then playfulness. Like in your own work, do you like to kind of create a dance between those two? Because I feel like they're not mutually exclusive, right? Like I think there's almost like impact work, maybe because of Netflix, has now become there's a certain like prototype or algorithm to it. 100%. But I feel like, in the sphere of filmmaking that we're in, you see people really subverting the conventions of doc and like finding ways. I just saw Seeking Mavis Beacon. I feel like,
I need to see that still.
Yeah, it's a great film for anyone watching that kind of does both, right? Where there's like there's this playfulness and almost like self-indulgence in a positive sense of like thinking about how we can use filmmaking as like a form of witness, and not just like, let me tell you about, like the expository narrative, like kind of structure we see done over and over again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the thing about docs is it's just as varied as like narrative filmmaking.
True.
People think of it as this one kind of like issue oriented Netflix template kind of thing, especially now, but like it's a wide world, and what you're talking about, I think, is the bulk of the docs I like to engage with, and it's always been, all that stuff has been an undercurrent, while these other docs have maybe like gotten more recognition or publicity, but like, Frederick Weissman is someone who I have like an immense amount of respect and admiration for, still doing it, like started in 1967 with Titty Cut Follies, Menu Plus Years came out last year, he's like 94.
Amazing.
But all of his films, address everything about our lives, but they do so in a way that you're coming to those, what the film's trying to tell you. You're like involved in the meaning making of it. The film's not telling you anything. The film's showing you stuff and kind of leading you, to form your own opinions and your come to your own realizations. And I think that's always like the best kind of documentary,
I love that. Is that kind of how you define or orchestrates, maybe too intense of a word, but is that how you approach your own filmmaking practice in terms of impact? I
think I've directed 2 short docs so far that have gotten around. Balloon Boy should be online October 14th. Nice. I think through Aeon.
That's your most recent, right?
That's my most recent. It's been doing the fest circuit. I think for me, it's really just like Backyard was partly an inspiration of doing all this shorts programming and just seeing what was out there and just being so inspired by it. I mean, like I want to do that, like I see what they're doing. I get it, and just try to put something together and got good results out of it. But I think, it's really like, for me, I feel privileged because I do have, a full-time role in the film world. And so filmmaking for me can be totally just a fun thing. And when I have an idea to do something, like I can just do that without any stakes or pressure, at my own pace, and just like try and put that idea to film, So like filmmaking for me is like just a total free form, like, just do it because you love it and because you have an idea. And like, so right now, like I live in a spot on a 3rd floor and I could see those like double-decker tour buses going by all the time. So like if you come to my living room right now, I just have a camera on a tripod pointed down out the window.
Whoa.
And like my fiance keeps yelling at me at night because I turn the lights on and forget to close the blinds, and she's gonna be like, people are gonna think we're psychos and like stalking our neighbors and stuff.
You're but like, so what? And what if we are?
I'm just trying to catch all the people on the top of the double-decker bus. I don't even know what I'm going to do with all this footage, but it seems like there's something there. I don't know. There's this short experimental doc from the 70s, Standish Louder, called Necrology, and the whole thing is just slow motion, people going down escalators at the Pan Am building in New York, and it's just like endless sea of faces, you know, just like riding this escalator never stops. So I kind of took inspiration from that, and we'll see what comes of it.
Oh my God, I love that. I also love kind of the reminder that you don't have to have like a fully thought out thesis before creating.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think some people struggle with that, where they're like, I need to have it. I mean, we could also transfer that to just life. Like, you feel like you need to know everything, and it's a good reminder to just follow those curiosities maybe, and that repetition can become its own narrative.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think part of that realization is exposure to this kind of work, like that's in the fest, because like, you know, some people, I've had people come to the fest and tell me like, I wasn't even really that about film, like movies generally, but like now that I see kind of what independent artists are up to and what's possible, like, you know, I'm way into it, you know, and it's sending me on all these different sort of paths of like different films to watch or make even. Like we're starting to get to the point where our attendees, people who start as attendees, are sending us films.
Whoa.
And it's just really rewarding.
Yeah, that's a really big measure of impact. Like, I feel like deeper engagement, even though of course with festivals you always want both.
For sure.
But I think it shows kind of like the impact on a personal level. And I do feel like it's similar to music, where like some people really like melody, and then some people you get exposed to like more weirder out stuff, and you feel like a sense of recognition in that. So I think it's about creating like cultural ecosystems in cities and places where we have more, right? Like where there's just like more diversity of what we're showing and what we're seeing.
Yeah, it's like it's a yes and like to everything, you know. It's like, yeah, there's this and there's this and there's that, and it's all great, and like you can go any way, you know, like I love that, because I will like intellectually critique certain things, but then I'm the first person who loves like a Michael Jordan sports documentary where at the end they're like, let's win, and I'm like, you know, and then I'm like, wow, that's really weird and so I like that. And can you tell us a little bit about the programming for this festival? I know you sent me a lot of films that looked really exciting. Like, this is your 7th year. Congratulations. Thank you.
Like, what are you excited about? What programs can people look out for too?
Sure. Well, I guess one of the big things, we've talked about shorts, but this is the first year we're doing a couple features too.
Wow.
And that just kind of happened out of circumstance. One of them, My Imaginary Life for Someone, which we're showing Saturday at the New Parkway, Saturday, October 5th. That was a frequent alumni short filmmaker who screened with us in our very first year when no one knew who we were. He won, Ryan McLeod, he won Best U.S. Narrative for our fest in 2022 for a film called Buddy Movie that everyone can check out online. And he just hit me up. He's like, do you guys do features? Like, I just made one. And I'm like, you know, kind of, if they're good. Like, I'm always open to it if it's good. Like, send it to me. And he sent it to me, and it was good.
Nice.
And I should say he co-directed that film with Molly Werwand, who's an LA-based artist. But so that is very much sort of in the total tenor and style. Anyone who's been to our festival before is like, oh, a feature that Drunken Film Fest is showing, like, this makes sense. And then the night before, though, Friday, October 4th, we are screening Liza Mandalup's new documentary, Caterpillar, which is a feature doc. And I caught it last year at a festival and loved it, but it just wasn't getting any distribution. The like, people just weren't up on it. It was like my favorite film, favorite feature of the year, and like when I posted my Letterboxd list or whatever, people are like, what is this, you know? And it was just breaking my heart. So like I'm a perpetual shot shooter, you know, and I just sent her an email. I just told her how much I liked it, what's going on, could we maybe help out, do a screening, and she was super game. So we're screening that as our opening night at Balboa Theater, which is also kind of unique for us being in SF, because we've been at Balboa all this year doing a monthly doc screening series.
Cool.
So like we started with Grey Gardens in March. We've done Hands on a Hard Body and Crumb and others. So it's a bit of a recognition of that partnership, trying to let the people who've been coming out on the SF side, know about the fest in Oakland, and vice versa, let all our friends in Oakland know what we've been up to in SF. And both of these features are being co-presented by our building friends at Frameline, who, have been super great. They co-presented our Grey Garden screening in March, and they actually had us participate in their festival this year. We did kind of our thing with their curation at the Stud.
Nice.
So that was super fun, just like screening a program of queer shorts, like with our setup, and me on the mic, and just kind of, trying to introduce ourselves again to the SF side of the Bay. So it's kind of this confluence of things, like kind of for the first time since 2020, it feels like we're growing.
Yes.
Or like have some momentum again. Like our second year in 2019, we had sponsors for the first time. We still don't have any sponsors or grants or funding or anything.
Wow.
But like we had some sponsors. We had like an awards party. It kind of felt like we were growing. And then 2020. But one thing I'm really proud of is that 2020, we were like one of the only in-person fests that year, because we did it in the Tribune Tower parking lot, and we did it like registration, with temp checks and like spaced out like seating areas and stuff, and no one got sick. And then we screened all the movies, and it was super fun. And we did it on Twitch too for people who still didn't feel comfortable coming out, but like that's just a cherished memory of like screening things super big on the side of a brick wall,
Wow.
and for a lot of filmmakers, it was the only like live in-person screening that happened that year. But like since then, it's just been like I'm sure we all can relate to, it's just like a struggle just to do anything, let alone like the fest. Is like we've just felt like if we could pull the fest off on itself, like that's a win. So we did it. But now, like, it just feels like we have some new opportunities, a bit more energy and momentum to, like, try and create some partnerships, do a little more, still within all our same scrappy team.
Yeah, I mean, listening to you talk, it feels like a real strength of yours in the team of, like, leveraging partnerships and understanding. I think something that was really beautiful about what you were saying is, like, seeing San Francisco and Oakland collaborate more intentionally across each other, because I feel like they do have unique kind of cultures and ecosystems, but I think right now, like, our independent spaces and venues across all mediums really need us. And
for sure.
I think any reason to like create fun programming and different types of programming to re-energize those spaces is also helpful, because I think spaces can also have like an identity that we need to like reinvigorate and reimagine. So it seems like listening, just the power of partnership in times like this, where we're not going to have the same resources. We still have to cultivate audience. We have to find a way to pay folks and ourselves, but there's sacrifices. So how does that like relationship work with like choosing venues and bars and spaces? Like, is that just you kind of have a sense of what you're looking for, or?
So year one, it was kind of just going around to bars I go to, and aside from one, I got one rejection. Everyone else was down. And then year two, we just ran it back with all those same people. And then COVID, we were in a parking lot, and then they started dropping, unfortunately. Like, we know so many spaces happen to so many spaces. So, like, we had to replace 2 venues the next year, another one. And up through last year, we had lost a total of 6 venues. And we're a 6-venue festival.
Whoa. It's good to tell people this. Yeah.
So, but we still have 3 of our original year one venues.
Wow.
Stay Gold, Eli's, and currently Beeryland, formerly Telegraph Beer Garden. And then we just kind of tried to fill the gaps as needed, and just poked around, see, eventually people started to reach out to us in DMs that they were interested, and we just kind of, put them on a list. And when we needed another venue, we asked.
Why do you think it's so, this is my last question, and then I'm just going to ask you to tell us where we can get tickets. But yeah, why do you think it's like important to support these kind of democratized social spaces and like view things in them, like as opposed to traditional viewing culture of like, let's go to the theater?
Yeah. I mean, for me, like the fest has to be populist, you know, it has to be accessible and inviting and non-threatening. You know, as a filmmaker, I have, you know, my experiences on the festival circuit, and like everyone's trying to do this sort of like fancy kind of highfalutin thing, which is like cool for some, but like, you know, if you're an independent filmmaker, like those aren't really the spaces you're traveling in too much. It's more like these dive bar spaces, you know. So I really wanted to create a fest that just felt natural for filmmakers, like felt familiar, you know, and that like you're saying, it's just like democratized. Like there's no hierarchy at the fest. Filmmakers come, and when they do, I'll just be like, hey, there's the filmmaker. They just made the movie you just watched. If you liked it, like tell them and maybe buy them a drink or something. You know, we don't try and do like a Q&A thing, which can kind of be painful, but like, and then people actually have like engaging conversations because they're just like another person at the bar, right? You know, and it's I know filmmakers have come up to me afterwards like, this has been like the best Q&A without a Q&A you know I've ever had. So
well, I'm super inspired and proud of you for carrying it on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really inspiring, and I'm sure our listeners will be inspired too. And can you just quickly tell us like where do we go?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Great.
Tickets, more information.
I'd say the best place is to follow our IG at DFF Oakland. That is usually just me posting like, you know, flow consciousness. What's the phrase?
Yeah. Free
like
conscious or
like
stream of consciousness.
Stream of consciousness. Yeah. I'm just like pop, 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 pop. And then our website, which is you know, moderated by my wonderful dear friend and collaborator Daniel Turner, is drunkenfilmfest.com/Oakland, and that's like kind of the more like official, you know, copy and you know, professional looking stuff. But that on the website and the IG, there are links to get tickets for both of these features at the Balboa New Parkway. You can register for the free film festival, which gets you on our mailing list. So we'll send you like updates and stuff as the festival's going on. But again, it's free. Like that's the beauty of it. So the bar nights, Sunday the 6th through Friday the 11th, you know, you're welcome to register. You're welcome to just show up, you know. But if you're going to do either, definitely come early because they fill up quick. And, you know, sightlines vary from bar to bar, so if you want to make sure you have like a good spot where you can maybe even read the subtitles, you know, get there early and you know, just get a drink and enjoy the scene before the movies start.
Nice. Well, it's been a pleasure, Arlin.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're so excited to see you at the local bar to see a film. And thank you all so much for listening to another episode of Transmission Studio. Definitely go check out Drunken Film Festival on IG and their website, and we'll see you in Oakland and at Balboa. Stay tuned for the next episode.